Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén bien. Hope everybody is doing well, that everybody's safe, that everybody is maintaining their 6 feet of social distancing as we enter this. I guess it will be the fifth week of quarantine here in this upcoming week. I just wanted to send out a video, as I will every week, and as I've done, like as I did last week, to just kind of update you about what's going on in Español dos, talk to you a little bit about the assignments for this week. Actually, in this case, the one assignment that we have for this week. And as well, I thought it appropriate to talk about the kind of two big pieces of news that came out in the last 5 days. And I guess I'll start with that. Obviously, I'm sure everybody knows that Governor Wolf shut down the school buildings for the rest of the school year, which is what it is. I don't know how you guys are doing with that. I know that for me, it's kind of a bummer because I'm just gonna miss you guys. I'm gonna miss, getting together in a classroom, and being able to be with all of those specific people in each class throughout the rest of the year, at any point in the rest of the year. Um, but I also understand why Governor Wolf had to do what he had to do, and so for those of you who are graduating, I wish you good luck, and obviously I'll talk about that later in the school year as well. And for the rest of us, we'll just see each other out and about at Central Dauphin next year. And of course, the other thing that I thought is worth mentioning is the way that this fourth marking period will be set up. As I'm sure you already know, your GPA will be calculated just using the material or just using your grades from the first through third marking periods. And then this fourth marking period will be pass excused, which is a little bit different, obviously, from what we're used to. We're used to, getting a number grade and having that translate into a GPA. I know that the administration is working on a formula, a rubric, so to speak, of what this is going to look like, that if you pass, what will that look like going future in combination with your first to third marking period grades. But for us here in Español dos, there's kind of an element of, yeah, it's weird, but also it can be something that's, I don't know if I want to say helpful, but something that can um, take the pressure off, I guess, with some different assignments. For example, in this upcoming assignment, which I'll talk about in a second, as opposed to in the past where maybe you've been somebody who's been worried about every single little accent, oh, what if Senor takes off a quarter point or a half point, or maybe you're somebody who has been tempted but surely never would use Google Translate on an assignment because, oh, I just want to make sure that my Spanish is perfect. Here, this whole pass excuse setup kind of frees us up from that, because kind of the pressure's off a little bit, in the sense that, hey, if you make a couple mistakes, as long as you're within the realm of a passing grade, that'll be what it'll be going forward. So keep all that in mind as we launch into this next week, which is the final week of Pretérito Imperfecto, the final week that we'll be looking at kind of the difference between the preterite and the imperfect. It's kind of a weird, I don't want to say big assignment, but it's something that's significant to give you, despite this quarantine situation. But it's something that I thought was important to touch on, and this will be our last week again with Pretérito de Imperfecto. But this is just one of the big concepts from Spanish 2 that I wanted to still practice with a little bit, especially for the benefit of those of you that are continuing on to Español 3, on to Spanish 3 next year. I just wanted to give you a little bit of additional practice with this. So for this week, there's again just one assignment, but it's a little bit of a bigger assignment. And it is this. I'm looking for you guys to come up with a cuento de una leyenda o de tu niñez. So you'll be looking to come up with a story about either a legend or about your childhood. And I already put this rubric up, or you'll see it, as an attachment in the other post with the assignment itself. And basically, here's the idea. It says, crea un librito con un cuento original de una leyenda o de tu niñez. That is, to create a kind of like a short story book, but in virtual form, you'll see, with either an original story about a legend that you decide to make up, or if you want to base it off of something that you've seen, that's fine, or about your childhood. Ustedes pueden usar, among the different apps that you could use. Prezi is good. If you want to use PowerPoint or Word, that's fine. Story Jumper is something that actually Senorita Stolpe had found that might be helpful. Flip Snap, I actually don't know exactly what that is, but again, something that Senorita Stolpe had found that is helpful. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way and then make it on a physical piece of paper and then just take pictures of it and upload those, that's fine as well. The requirements I'm looking for, it says el librito debe incluir 10 palabras de vocabulario. So I'm looking for 10 vocab words from this current vocab chapter. Remember, that's the leyenda or the Niñez chapter, words like for leyenda, words like volcán or héroe or heroína or mensaje, things like that. Or for Niñez, you have words like sube y baja or perro or tímido, those kind of words. So I'm looking for you to include 10 vocab words. I'm looking for 15 verbs total in the past tense, which I know sounds like a lot, but we can break it down easily. Trust me, it won't be the end of the world. So I'm looking for at least cinco o más verbos en el pretérito, por lo menos cinco verbos en el imperfecto, so you'll at least need 5 of both tenses, and then from there you can cover those other 5 in whatever ratio you want. So maybe it's 10 preterite verbs, 5 imperfect verbs, or maybe it's 8 and 7, or maybe it's 6 and 9. Again, whatever ratio, as long as you have 5 of each, that's fine. And then I am looking for 10 imágenes. I'm looking for 10 different images to go along with your presentation. Now, regarding your presentation, again, I know every time we hear presentation or project, everybody starts to freak out. It's really not the end of the world. Let me show you my example, which surely you'll recognize from that day. Oh, sorry, from that day when you were in class, assuming I can find it in here. We go. So, if you remember, when we were introducing the imperfecto, Senorita Stolpe and I gave a couple different sentences about how we were when we were younger. And so perhaps you would do something that would obviously build on this, but be something similar to this, where it's just a picture of you when you were young, like here I am at age 5 or 6 maybe, and I have a sentence about myself. I say, cuando Señor Gans era niño, le gustaba llevar suéteres. So when Señor Gans was a little kid, he liked to wear sweaters, which is apparently the case. Here you see I have this nice navy sweater situation going on. So right there, you've hit on a couple of things, or I've hit on a couple of things. I have 2 verbs in the imperfecto, era from ser, gustaba from gustar, and then I think llevar is also a vocab word. So in this sentence, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words long, I've already hit on one of the vocab word requirements and 2 of the imperfect verb requirements. So again, when you see those totals of the 15 verbs total and then the 10 vocab words total, please don't freak out. It's easy to get there. Let me give you a little bit more. Maybe you could have something like this, where so there I am in my little toy car, and it says, También a Señor Gans le gustaba conducir en su cochecito. So when Señor Gans was young, he also liked to drive in his little car. And there I am, driving, using an imperfect verb, gustaba again, and then cochecito, which is another vocab term. But remember that the imperfecto is used for kind of general things. Like when I was young, I generally liked to wear sweaters, or I generally liked to drive in my very cool toy car. But perhaps one day something specific happened, and that's when you would use a pretérito. Remember, the pretérito is used for a specific one-time action, something that's very like quantifiable, countable. So one thing that I definitely didn't do every single day was ride horses. But apparently one day I did ride a horse, and the only reason I know this is because here's photographic evidence. So to use this pretérito, I've worked in a sentence like this. Un día, Señor Gans montó a caballo. One day, Señor Gans rode a horse, which again is apparently a thing that happened in my life. I don't remember it really. But being that there's a picture of it, I know that it happened. It was a one-time thing, so I'm using the preterite of montar, montó. And then I think gallo as well is a vocab word, so I've worked in another vocab word. So again, all that said, I think in these 3 short sentences, I think I've gotten 4 of the conjugations that I need, and I've gotten, I think, 3 or 4 of the vocab terms. So again, not a huge deal. Back to the rubric. Sorry, as I'm moving things around. There we go. One final requirement of it, and you can see that there's a rubric here beneath, which I won't read to you, but I do want to touch on the other requirement, which is that I would like you to read these things. Now, I understand the whole notion of reading in Spanish, and especially if it's something that everybody would see, like if you were to present in front of a classroom, that might be a nerve-wracking thing. But here, basically, all I'm looking for is for you to read what you wrote in Flipgrid. I think we've used Flipgrid before. You can just download the app and then film a video of yourself. excuse me, in each of the different sections of my Google Classrooms, I have a specific link for you to put that Flipgrid video up in your class's link. And what I've disabled, at least I think I've disabled the ability for other for other classmates to see those videos. So when you put it up, it's only going to be me seeing it, and then me grading it. But again, I'm not super picky about pronunciation things. You can look at the rubric, but mainly, more than anything, I'm just looking for you to have an excuse to practice your verbal Spanish as well as just writing it out. So chiquillos, this is considered a 40-point grade. I'm going to put it in a Google Classroom as a 40-point grade. But again, the points here, yes, they're important because it's important to pass. That's the idea, but it's because of this new fourth marking period format with the pass excuse business, the difference between a 37 and a 38 out of 40 is really not that big a difference at all. Really, the difference between a 35 and a 39 out of 40 is not a huge deal. So chiquillos, again, pressure off just a little bit. All that said, if you have any questions, as is always the case, reach me by email at cguns@cdschools.org. I will be available with office hours starting on Tuesday from 10 to 11. Remember that Monday is still technically spring break, although I'm putting this up on Monday. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, buena suerte. Nos vemos. Espero que tengan una buena semana y nos vemos pronto. Adiós.